welcome to the webinar. I'm very excited to host this webinar on the topic of green building innovation. It is part of the Bridgeham Smart Sustainable City Focus Group. This is open for public. We're very excited to host this today. We support as a focus group. We support like a development of the green innovation and as well as the development of the cities as all very inclusive and towards a sustainable development. And we have a very exciting lineup today of our speakers. We have Pak Iwan, who is from the Green Building Council Indonesia. We also have Stuart Morris, who is the director of KTL Filtration. And we also have Mark Bautry, head of the global sales of ESG of Aquila. And last but not least, we have George Hadi Santoso, who is the VP Marketing of Surya Daya Indonesia. Okay, without further ado, we will start with the webinar now with Pak Iwan to set the setting of like how the green building is developing in Indonesia. Pak Iwan, like screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Bu Ellen. Let me share my screen first. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Can you see my screen? Have you already seen my screen? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the invitation, and I think I would like to share my view, our Green Building Council Indonesia view regarding the significant trends of green building industry here in Indonesia especially. Yeah, first thing first, because I have very short time, but I have to mention first why this is very important. It is because that from all the green gas house emission, 76% is coming from carbon emission, and then the building itself emissions consists of almost like 39%, 38 and 29%, and 28% coming from the building operation and 11% coming from the building materials and construction. Therefore, it is very important. And also the building consume almost 35% of world energy and 12% of water, and also generate 25% waste, and GHG emissions, like I told you, 39%. And therefore, because of this is very important, so as also happened in other sector, in green building sector, we already aim, according to World Green Building Council, that at 2030, all new buildings should be in the condition of net zero, total net zero. And all buildings in 2050 should be already net zero. So therefore, it is coming from two efforts, coming from the net zero embodied carbon, the carbon that already embedded in the materials, building materials, and also the net zero carbon from the operational side. So this is actually the world agenda. Green Building Council Indonesia also embracing these goals. Yeah, although the government of Indonesia are already stated that Indonesia will at 2060, 2060 will become carbon neutral. But I think mostly this national determinant contribution of this 2060 is not involving building sector. So if building sector will be involved, I think I'm quite optimistic that should be at 2050 we can reach the net zero situation. We are part of the World Green Building Council, become the established member of the World Green Building Council. Therefore, all our product, especially our rating system, Greenship rating systems, is have the same situation with the other common, already familiar international rating system like LEED, Green Star, or BREEAM. Yeah. So I think this is I would not like to explain this more. But regarding the net zero, this will already become the most important agenda, because climate change is is should be one of the most important, the first priority of all human beings. So if we talk about roadmap to net zero, actually we're not just talking about the technology. We're not talking about the how to make the how to introduce the technology to create energy efficiency and also promoting renewable energy, for instance. But we will start always from how can we reduce energy demand and consumption. This is also similar happen to water conservation. We're not just talking about suddenly we talk about how we introduce technology to ensure that we will have a quite efficient water consumption, but we need to ensure that we have new paradigm to reduce the energy demand consumption first before we're talking about how to improve the efficiency. So this is the first thing that we need to introduce to our society. For instance, in the case of energy, Green Building Council Indonesia promoting natural ventilation instead of using AC first, because we have a quite friendly climate environment, yeah, compared to four season area. Therefore, natural ventilation is always feasible. So natural ventilation instead of AC, daylight instead of artificial lights, walk instead of using vehicle, bicycle instead of cars. So that is the first thing that we have to promote to our society. If we need energy, then after that, if we still have some energy that we have to use it, then use it in a efficient manners. This is about the technology. This is about the methodology. And then if we can have the energy intensity rate very low, then we can logically use the renewable energy. But please still remember there is a building materials that already have an embodied carbon. So if we talk about existing building, the existing building already have a good position because maintaining the embodied carbon, we're not increasing the new embodied carbon. So therefore, heritage building, existing buildings is always becoming a very good project, yeah? Not just a new building. New building always trying to build a new or consist or consume a new embodied carbon materials. If we talk about transformation, so it's not just about the building, it should be also about the human resources, organization, also the financial sector. So this is very important. And if you look at the Paris Agreement, the most important part of this Paris Agreement actually right now, the trend is the climate finance. Yeah, I think after COP26, also this climate finance quite significant coming into Indonesia. There's a lot of prominent banks and also financial institutions already have a serious talk with Green Building Council Indonesia to ensure that for building sectors, the green ship rating system, our system, can be the underlying certification to ensure that they are eligible to get like green mortgage or green loan, something that can make a true benefit to our market and industry players. So this is perhaps the simple ecosystem that we need to happen. If we look at with this building, by certifying the building from Green Building Council Indonesia using green ship, then this is eligible for green mortgage and also green construction loan. So the developers also will increase the credibility and to get the green insurance companies and also green estate investment trust. And from the green home buyers also, this will become, they have a significant value, not just about the property, but also the ability to access the green mortgage. Yeah. And about the water, I think also we have to look at the very holistic view about the water. It's not just about water use efficiency, but also how to adopt security through diversity approach to managing water resources. I try to quote this from the International Water Association. So I think it is a very holistic way to look at how we can manage the water recycling, water use efficiency, desalination, yeah, groundwater conservation and surface water, water trading and catchment management. So this reducing water use, increasing water recycle, develop new resources. So this is like a holistic way to approach for water conservation. And without even talking about innovation, people are talking about smart building and smart city. They're aiming for the outcome of smart city is not just the output. That's my concern. So a smart building or smart city is not about technology. It's about transformation. It is supposed to increase the well-being, quality, and sustainability of human civilization. So we are not talking about the technology. It should be a transformation about well-being, quality, and sustainability. That's the outcome. So I always try to give some analogy explanation. This handphone is a smartphone, but this is not automatically will become ourselves become smart because of this smartphone can be a divided society. So we are not using it smartly, then this handphone, the smartphone, can divide our society because there is a right side and the left side, and there are always confrontation, hawks, and everything. So I think first thing first, we need to ensure that we are smart enough to choose the right technology to get our strategic aim, our strategic objective, yeah, to increase, to ensure that we can reach our strategic objective in a very efficient way. Here's are some of the most I think the most ultimate innovation that we should try to perform. This is the general framework. First, we are trying to reduce the energy consumption. In Indonesia case, promoting natural ventilation. There is a lot of innovation that should happen in, especially passive design from the architecture side, to enable using or utilizing the natural ventilation effectively. And secondly, if we still have to use energy, then we need to have energy efficiency technology and methodology to enable our energy efficiency very, very efficient. And then you can use the renewable energy on site or off site. So this is about operational carbon, and this is about then balancing the carbon emission. In Indonesian case, we have all the opportunity as well to use the embodied carbon coming from the low embodied carbon building materials. So we can try to use alternative building materials that have very low embodied carbon that can also be produced in Indonesia as well through sustainable plantation, which is not really happen here in Indonesia, and also materials production industry that have a strong innovation in using alternative made raw materials such as bamboo, wood, and etc. And if we can use this for say like for housing sector, then it will become like a circularity itself in the big huge circular economy for total net zero process in Indonesia. So this is like the general framework of the biggest innovation that we need to have in Indonesia. This is just like overview. One of our buildings can with only incremental cost only 0.34% payback only like 1/3 years, and then have the utility cost saving per year 46% or up to 2.7 billion rupiahs, yeah. And this is equivalent for energy consumption for 450 low-income houses, or equivalent to water consumption of 147 low-income houses. So it is quite significant, and not really, not necessarily we need to have a very high incremental cost in front, but give a total life cycle cost very efficient and very low, and also give significant value and benefit to our society. I think that's all from my presentation. Hopefully already reached the 7 minutes or not more than 7 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Iwan. You're very much on point with the timing. That's very interesting. We definitely learned a lot, especially your key message there about smart cities, about transformation. And I couldn't agree more. Like a smart city and smart building, it is not just innovation. And as we're going to see across like our speakers here now, yeah, the technology that's been put forward nowadays it is like require like the part of the change of the those who use as well, being us, the citizen of the cities and the user of the building. Okay, moving next, we'll go to Stuart Morris. And
Okay.
Stuart is a director of Haytail Filtration. So it is the company who work on the innovative solution for water filter. I'm sure he'll tell you more, and the presentation coming up here. Very much looking forward to hear about it. The screen is yours, Stuart.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present my company and what we do. We specialise in potable water systems for point of use applications. We build our filters from natural materials, so we're very focused on the environmental impact of our product. How do I switch? Okay. So our purpose is to provide drinking water, but we're thinking a bit outside the box on this. We remove contaminants from the world's water supply that shouldn't be there. So our purpose is to empower people to remove those contaminants from the world's water supply and provide themselves with potable drinking water, but have a product that does this, that is harmless to the environment. And we would like to become the leader in this particular segment of the marketplace. What we found right across the globe is that there's an awful lot of people out there who are frustrated by all the difficulties that we're challenged with the environment, and they feel that they can't do anything about it. Well, we offer them the opportunity to do something about it and to permanently remove those chemicals from the environment. If you think about it in terms of the population of the planet is about 8 billion people. If there's one filter used per a family of 4 people, we're using 2 billion filters at one point in time. And we replace our filter every 6 months. So that's 4 billion filters that we're throwing away. That collects an awful lot of chemicals out of the environment. So although we're quite a small company, our vision is global and our vision is big. We're part of a much wider organisation, the KL Technologies Group, based here in the UK in a city called Kings Lynn. We make on this site membranes for clothing. We are actively developing a membrane that would compete with membranes such as Gore-Tex, which is also based on natural materials. We have products in that company that are under development and being brought to production at the moment that could revolutionise this industry. We also have another business in Sheffield in the north of the country which manufactures chemical treatments to make fabrics fireproof. So wherever you use a fabric and there's a risk of fire, so chairs, settees, that sort of thing, you can coat the material. They're also looking into how to use more natural materials to achieve this. Then KLT Filtration is us. We are a spin out of the company on the right hand side, which is PCL Technologies. They specialize in making slip casting machines. So they produce machineries that produce toilets and shower basins and things like that out of ceramic. And it was from them that we developed the technology to produce a porous ceramic. And from that, we created a filter industry, a filter business, which we're now representing. The global market for water purification is huge and growing very, very rapidly. The world's water supply is increasingly under pressure as the population grows and climate change causes all sorts of different issues. The environment is increasingly being polluted, so what water sources are available are often polluted. Even in countries that you would thought of as having very good water supplies, we're finding increased contamination from chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, and the sorts of things that we use in the environment. We don't know the long-term effects of some of these chemicals, because most of them have been generated within the last 40 or 50 years. There's also significant impact from microplastics, which are both in the water and now in the air. We don't have an understanding yet of the impact of these on long-term health for populations, but we can remove them, so hopefully we can prevent any damage being done. We look at the world in two main sectors. We've got the east, or the tropical zones, where water is distressed. Anywhere where the ambient temperature is above about 20 to 25 degrees, then you're going to have problems with water. As soon as it stagnates, it picks up bacteria, and these bacteria and viruses that ride on the bacteria will be damaging to human health. Also in these countries, we have the chemical problems and the contaminant problems that we would have in the West, but the most critical aspect is having water that is nominally drinkable. In the West, we have people who are increasingly concerned about pharmaceuticals, nitrates, etc., from farming getting into the water supply. They don't know what the long-term effects are going to be and are choosing not to take the risk. So we refer to those as the worried well, their health is okay. The water distressed people tend to be suffering already from water carried diseases. One of the key interests in our product is plastic. I myself have seen the world change in my 40 years of career. I, in my spare time, spend my time on land in wilderness areas, mountains, and etc. I'm a trained mountain leader, and I'm also a sailor. So I see the world's oceans, and increasingly we're seeing images like this. This is in Indonesia, where some 400,000 tons of plastics accumulate on the beaches every year. This is not unique to Indonesia. This is a problem globally. We use disposable plastics, we throw them away, and they end up on the beach and in the sea. So we're polluting our environment. We make water filters. By definition, our water filter is a disposable item. So we're very focused on what happens after you've finished using it. Just yesterday, I spent the day at Cranfield University in the UK, where we're working with the National Institute for Wastewater to look at different ways that we can take our filters and recycle it and repurpose it so that it doesn't have a long-term impact on the planet. That's after it's done its job. So, and this is very much part of our circular mentality. We're not just producing a product to sell today and forget about. We're producing a product today to be sold today, to be used tomorrow, and to be disposed of responsibly the day after. So the problems that our industry can solve, first and foremost, we give you clean drinking water, and we do provide some of the best drinking water that you can have. We're going for more recyclable products and products that are formed for a circular economy rather than single-use plastic. We're trying to use natural materials that are still competitive. You know, plastic is successful because it's very, very cheap, but the ceramic materials that we're using are also very competitive. So we're helping people buy the right things. And we're also trying to remove the quantity of bottled water, which is a problem that has occurred in the last 20 to 30 years. And we're now having to turn that around. So on the water contamination front, we remove 99.9% of contaminants, and we do this over a long period of time. So there's lots and lots of people who make a claim of what happens in the first litre. We make a claim of what happens in the 10,000th litre of the filter. So we like to say we're better for longer. We're trying to make products affordable and practical for people. Our factory is powered by renewables. We are ahead of the curve on this. We instigated in 2012 a power supply from photovoltaic cells and from wind turbines. We've now got a planning application for a second wind turbine, and these are positioned right next to the factory. You can see the pictures down there. So we're not just jumping on a bandwagon here. We really believe in what we're doing. Energy is critical to manufacturing, so we tackled the issue of renewable energy a long time ago. We're also looking at all of our suppliers, and we're pushing back to our suppliers and trying to get them to do the same thing, so that when we start with our raw materials, we know that we have reduced our carbon footprint to the bare minimum. So in smart cities, we're talking to a number of smart city projects around the world at the moment. What we would like to do is for them to install a point of use water purification system, so that the person who lives in that city has access to clean drinking water, which is essential for human health. We want to work with other credible manufacturers who have the same vision. And we're building up a chain of people across the world to help us to do this. And we've got to make it easy for people, because consumers cannot sit and focus like we can on the problems of water and how we get it to them in a responsible way. So we've got to make the consumer experience low friction, and we've got to provide them the data, and we've got to educate them on what's a good product and what's a bad product, so that they can make the right decisions. We can get support from this from government bodies and other stakeholders. So we're working as closely as we can to educate them, because they can promote what we're trying to do. And we're trying to partner with other manufacturers who are leading in the plastic-free agenda. So we're working with other companies in the sector who don't necessarily have, are in our supply chain, but are trying to do the same thing, so that we have a joint approach to communicating what we're trying to solve. So I think I hit about 7 minutes there. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Thank you, Stuart. It's a very interesting innovation in the industry there, especially when we start looking at product. We have to start small, indeed. And once we start looking at the whole life cycle of product items, such as the water filter, yeah. The rest is, the world is our oyster, yeah? There's more to be done. Okay, next we have Mark Bowtry, who's the head of global sales on ESG of Aquila. So Aquila here is a provider of a platform that is actually working on the building energy monitoring, and please, Mark, you will be able to explain it better than myself. But yeah, I've heard it from your colleague. It's a very interesting product indeed, and it will change, especially in markets such as Indonesia, with the innovation in the digital twin and all that. So yeah, without further ado, screen's yours.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, so I'm not here to talk so much about Aquila, but more about ESG today. But just a quick introduction on Aquila is essentially, yes, it's a digital twin platform that enables you to have a single source of truth for all the collection of data and information, performance of the buildings, and basically the facility management of the buildings. So all of that data flowing into a single platform that enables you to be able to provide compliance reporting for things like whether it's company or government or ESG aspects. But today I'm here to have a quick chat about or to introduce ESG, about ESG and what is all this ESG malarkey. Essentially, what we're looking at is what is ESG? So ESG essentially has been developed from an investor's point of view. So in the past, a lot of investors were looking at profit and losses, the P&Ls of the companies, and being able to try and understand what their investment risk was by looking at the profit and losses. But in the last 10 to 15, 20 years, they've been starting to notice the metrics, further metrics that can be used to analyze what would be good for investment purposes. And so it's really where ESG has come from, is understanding the aspects within the companies and to be able to see what the future financial performance of those companies will be. And so what's happened is in the past, we're looking at CRS and aspects like this. So what's come out is this environmental social governance elements or pillars to be able to see at different aspects. And just to give you a quick review of what's there. So on the environmental side, very much about the performance side, key one mentioned earlier around greenhouse gas emissions, energy efficiency, climate risks, all these different aspects here. On the social side, very much about the human impact, so health and safety, working conditions, human rights. And then on the government side, very much on basically policy based around whether that's with the government or as I mentioned, with sustainability or even within the company itself. And what we're seeing is actually where the focus is for a lot of the companies when we've done the reports is very much environmental seems to be one of the most important ones, followed by governance, followed by social. So moving on. So what this is all done, so as I mentioned, basically investors have identified areas where there's potential or metrics, these investment metrics to be able to understand, to all in all to help to reduce the overall investment risk within the businesses. But how does this help you as a business or a company? Essentially, there's 5 aspects here. So going on to the next one. Can I go down? So the number one is particularly with the consumer growth. So basically consumers these days are very much interested in sustainable products. So products that have been grown, such as Stuart's product he was just talking about, very much grown around sustainability and having within a circular economy aspect. So looking at the top line growth to improve for adoption, and people are taking on and purchasing, so B2C purchasing much faster sustainable based products. With 2 is very much about cost reduction. So again, looking at trying to reduce the overall operational aspects. So within these metrics, trying to understand, and one of the basic creations with reducing the overall cost, and that could be with renewable technologies, or just optimizing, as mentioned, looking at options to be able to overall reduce the operational costs of the companies. With 3, some of the aspects that ESG is helping with is regulatory relief. So across the globe, a lot of governments are putting in policies to help reduce the overall, providing reliefs for those companies that are actually really pushing towards ESG compliance. One of the 4th benefits actually is from the talent pools that you're actually looking at. So if people feel like they're working for companies that are very focused on sustainability and the overall improvement of the environment that they work in, enables you to actually obtain and retain top talent from the younger generations. And then the 5th one is very much on the CapEx and investment. So looking at how basically companies are, again, from this investment point of view, being able to understand, seeing that the investment risk on investing in companies that follow the ESG is a great investment for them and their portfolios. So those are kind of the 5 key benefits from that. And how this is being developed. So what's happening around the world, and this is very early days in many ways, is the fact we've got the typical green building labels things, aspects like Iwan was talking about with GBCI.
So our next speaker, we have Pak George Hadi Santoso, who is the VP Marketing of Suryadaya Indonesia. This is a very interesting company who's operating in Indonesia at the moment and changing the game of like how we can finance a solar panel for the projects here and make it more viable and more accessible to more people. But George, if the screen to yours to start.
Yes, thank you, Bu Ellen, for the invitation, and thank you for your kind words. So very happy to be here, everyone. Let me share my screen. Okay, let me put it on the full screen mode. So related to the first speaker, Pak Iwan, one of the way to reduce the carbon dioxide emission is to use renewable energy. And one of the most easiest renewable energy that we can use actually is solar energy. Why? Because with the current technology, actually it's not current, but the economic has enabled us now in Indonesia to use the solar rooftop, call it solar rooftop power plant, because it created power, created electricity. We can use it, we can install it in our house, in our rooftop, in our building, in our factories. Yeah, and one of the challenges to do that is the initial cost, investment cost, because it's still quite high, relatively quite high for house or buildings or factories. So what Surya do basically is to provide, to enable the companies. We are not into residential yet. We focus on the companies. So we help the companies to install the solar rooftop power plant, yeah, in order to switch to the renewable energy without any investment. Yeah. Now let's go to the next slide. So in the space of solar energy, our company called is solar developer. Yeah, so we develop the solar rooftop system. We start from the design, the installation, and after that we operate and we maintain throughout the contract. Why contract? Because we finance the system. So the customer, the companies, our customer no need to invest. They just sign a rental contract with us and they pay monthly according to what they use from the electricity produced by the solar rooftop system. Yeah. And we offer a better tariff than the current grid electricity. So while helping the environment, while using the green energy, they can also have the cost savings. And our system called on-grid system because it's running parallel with the grid electricity. In this case, most of the companies using electricity from PLN in Indonesia. So the system is not using any storage system, means not using battery. So what the electricity produced by the solar rooftop system directly used by the factories or by the buildings. Yeah. So it only operates from morning to evening, yeah, whenever the sun is there, because the solar panel mechanism is to directly change the sun ray into electricity. So this is, I'm not going into the two details. Later on, if you're interested, I can explain more in more private session, but to give you a brief technical framework, yeah, how the system is working. Now, how it can give cost saving as well, because if you see on the left side, this is the companies when they use only from the grid, from PLN, and after the company use the solar rooftop system, the tariff from PLN is reduced, yeah, the blue one, and of course, the company need to pay Surya for the rental fee on a monthly basis, and we offer a rental fee lower than the PLN tariff or the grid tariff, so the customer can enjoy the cost saving, yeah, on monthly basis. One other benefit of using the solar rooftop system is also to prolong the life of your rooftop, because it prevents the rooftop directly from the heat from the sun and also from the rain. Yeah, so it will prolong the life of the rooftop, and also it will reduce the temperature below the rooftop. Yeah, the study show is around 3 to 5 degrees Celsius. So it will help you also to reduce some of the air conditioning usage in your building as well. Now, the most important thing, of course, is not the cost saving. Cost saving is nice, but it's not the most important thing. But the most important thing is how you can help, the company can help to reduce the carbon dioxide emission by switching from the fossil fuel-based electricity power into the renewable green energy power. Yeah. So we always calculate the saving of the carbon dioxide to our companies, to our customer as well. We started in 2018, and now one of the pioneer in Indonesia for zero rupiah investment of using the solar rooftop system. We have more than 100 customers now. You can see some of the more well-known name of customer on the right side. Yeah. We are operating in many islands in Indonesia, mainly in Java Island, of course, where the industry is located. But we also have customer in Sumatra and also in South Sulawesi, and soon we will have our customer in Bali as well. This is some of the example of our customers. Yeah, you can see from the pictures how the solar panel put in the rooftop. Yeah, this is some of our customers in Sumatra and Jakarta and South Sulawesi area. It varies from hotels, buildings, cold storage, yeah, factories, and many industry, diverse industry. This is some of our customer in East Java, in West Java, I'm sorry. Most of our customer located in West Java because West Java have more industrial companies there. And this is some of our customer in West Java is very in the industry type as well, from food and beverage, stainless steel, textile, building material, automotive product. And so basically the solar rooftop power plant can be used in any kind of industry. Why? Because it connects directly to the main distribution system. So it really does not impact any operation of any type of industry. This is some of our customer in Central Java and East Java as well. We have more customer, but we only put some of this. You can see as well in here. Yeah. Now, we can provide the funding because we are supported by the many leading investors that are really care about renewable energy, about green energy. Yeah, so they help us to enable the companies in Indonesia to switch to solar energy without any investment. Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's my brief presentation, and I'm happy to have your question and try to answer it in this session as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak George. Very interesting, game changer here. Prior to the session, we actually got a very good feedback from the audience. Like we got a lot of 90 people sign up for this session, and we already received quite a few questions, which I think very relevant for all of you who's here. First, I would like to ask the question to Pak Iwan. So from the question that's been submitted by another Pak Iwan, his name is Iwan Budiarta. He's from Arta Capital Partner, and he asked if is any of the innovation can be part of a mandatory building requirement in Indonesia. And I think another one that is very relevant to be answered by yourself is also it's a question by Sony Iskandar from Indonesian Aerospace. He asked how can we implement a concept such as the green building to the people in Indonesia, who of course, as you highlighted in your presentation earlier, that still require engagement and focus to get the community and citizens to engage. So yeah, that's the two questions for you first.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, I forgot the first question. After I listening to the second question, I forgot the first question.
The first one is how can we get all the innovation to be kind of the wording here is mandatory on the building requirement here. So yeah, that's what sure like to hear from you on this.
First thing first, if I talk about green building in terms of Green Building Council Indonesia, because we are a not-for-profit organization, we are independent and voluntary basis. So therefore, there is no mandatory. If everybody wants to fulfill our requirement, it means that they are voluntary, wants to fulfill our requirements. And the requirements is also consists of many innovative ways to do so. So I think this is not becoming a mandatory. If mandatory, perhaps you have to ask for the government to do so. But in my opinion, I think naturally the innovation is always not become a mandatory. Innovation is always trying to seek a new way of doing something. So therefore, it's not relevant if we call it as a mandatory. It's always about how we try to improve or make a radical transformation, radical change, yeah, and radical ways to do something in a very innovative way. So that is my answer for our first question. But innovation in our green building, especially in our green ship rating system, have their very significant priority as well, because we sometimes put as a innovation is become like a new category of the rating itself is innovation. We always open with innovation because we realize that we really need a lot of innovation in many sectors and many fragments of our green building process. Yeah. So that is my first question regarding the first question, and the second question regarding how can we ensure that this green building movement become everybody business. Yeah. I will start with climate change. Perhaps that is the common issue right now. Climate change is everybody business, including banks. So if banks already really wants to be part of this climate change, and actually banks and the finance sectors, it's actually, for me, is the leading sector of the development. Yeah, urban development and built environment all are driven by financial activity. So the rest is just following this financial activity. If Jakarta losing its status as a financial hub of the Indonesian country, so Jakarta will diminishing and will become a dead city. But if the capital city of Indonesia removed from Jakarta, it's not create any difference significantly. But if the financial sector removed from Jakarta, it will create a significant impact. So therefore, financial sector is very important. So to answer the question, I think the market, if I talk about society, I think there is two ways. We need to educate our youngsters the earliest possible. If we talk about value system, so we need to ensure that we have all the campaign education towards our youngsters, because they are still fresh and have significant ability to absorb new thinking, and especially if we are talking about their future. So that is one thing. The second, if we talk about the industry, if we talk about the society right now, I think the financial sector, it should give significant incentive. That's perhaps what Mark tried to say about the ESG. If the finance sectors gives a significant incentive, I believe the market will transform. Not because I still believe the market mechanism is the best way to make a changes. It's not about the mandatory, because mandatory sometimes become formality, and formality for me is a part of greenwashing. Greenwashing means like actually it's not green. It's only like for marketing gimmick, it's just formality and etc. So I think we need, in terms of climate change, we need to have a significant real changes in the market. So therefore, financial sectors is very important. So therefore, what Pak George already explained regarding how the financial sector, actually behind Pak George is financial sector, I believe. If Pak George will explain more, I think behind Pak George's services and proposal is I think backed up by the good financial scheme and financial sector. So therefore it can change the market, because if the building sector, for instance, willing to we like pushing the building sector to also have a solar panel become their capex, I don't think it will change a lot in the market, because it's very expensive. But if we can combine the building sector with the energy sector, so this has become a very good collaboration. back up with the financial sector. So I think that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Iwan. That's a very good insight. And yeah, agreeing with you that like, yeah, it's a good way to see like how the mandatory becoming a greenwashing. That's a very interesting perspective. A key takeaway for me now.
I think, can I just add on to that a bit, if you
yes,
can hear me?
Of course.
Yeah, sorry for the presentation earlier, I got keyed off, but yeah, very much so. I was going to touch on those points, and the fact that with ESG and how ESG is developing right now is very much around moving away from that holistic qualitative aspect, very much to the quantitative data collection. So being able to get that information and have that transparency of that information is very key these days to avoid anybody referring to anything as greenwashing. With the qualitative data, it can be referred to as greenwashing. But if you've got that data of performance of what's happening on your site, what's happening within your buildings, or what you're doing across your organization, then that's going to be that's essentially where the whole movement is going to. And whether that's you promoting that as a sustainable company to your market, or whether it's the investors looking at you as a company, it's very much being pushed on that. And then the other aspect is on that financial area is the banks, but also on the insurance. So very much with the insurance companies these days are following quite in a lot of detail about the climate risk that's coming into the whole insurance program. And this is something that a lot of people need to understand. And the insurance companies are not there to just, to put up their fines. They're really putting out programs these days to help educate and train people. So it's very important. It'd be very good for you if you to talk to your insurance companies to understand what they're doing around climate risk. And understanding climate risk, so you too can understand what the impact will be moving forward with all within the organizations as well. So those are the two things I would recommend.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, thank you. Good to have you back here. Well, Rory, so we actually got a question about like if the audience can get the material from all the speakers. Of course, like this is subject to like if any of the speakers are willing to share the material. Mark, of course, unfortunately, due to the connection, do feel free to drop that. And of course, for all the speakers here, please feel free to drop your contact as well. So there's more for connection, discussion to be made. The opportunities there. So it takes time, but I would like to like ask the two question actually to Stuart and Pak George. To Stuart, actually, it's the same question. Again, like your product is very much a kind of a mass market product. I think the question is very much relevant to you as well. How do you convince the customer to actually to take up this innovation? And
I do think there is a role for national institutes to look at this, because the pressure in our industry has been to push the price down, because although water is extremely important to our everyday lives, when we as consumers make the decision to buy a product to give us good water versus a luxury product that we might hanker after, the emotional pressure is to go for the cheaper product. Now, the cheaper products are not necessarily functional. So I think where there is a role to play is standardization of the new technologies to set realistic measurements, so that any product in the marketplace has to demonstrate through independent verification that their product does conform to the required standards. Because there is, I was in Egypt a few weeks ago, and we were looking at this problem exactly. And what we were saying is we've got a very simple product that you can use. It's good for the environment. It gives you very, very safe drinking water. But it costs in the marketplace about £30. We were up against products that were costing about £10, but we've tested those sorts of products and they just don't work. They don't work, and they leave a very large sum of plastic. So we need some standardization, and we need some sort of regulation to specify what standards need to be met for new buildings. So I think that's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
What was, and your second question, sorry, could you repeat your second question?
I know that's a question for you. My second question is for
Okay.
George. And there's been quite a lot of excitement actually to ask about the solar panel. It is a heated topic at the moment in Indonesia. But George, I'll read up the question from Bu Linda Gunning. Well, she say, if she's not mistaken, there's an overcapacity of electricity produced by PLN in Java and Bali. So she's curious about what's the reason for Surya to decided to have a project in Java instead of outside Java and Bali.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very relevant question for many people.
Correct. Thank you, Bu Linda, for the question. Yeah. First of all, that what I mentioned in my presentation is our system on grid means that we don't store the electricity from the rooftop solar power plant. Yeah, so the electricity produced directly used by the companies or by buildings or by household. Yeah. So in that case, we cannot, with that system, we cannot be full-time provider of electricity. Yeah. If you want to be a full-time or independent power electricity provider, then you need to be off-grid. Means you need to have an energy storage system. You need to have a battery. Yeah. But to do that, the cost of battery is still high compared to the electricity tariff in Indonesia. So it's not possible. So even if we move to outside Java Island, it will not solve the issue of lack of electricity outside Java Island. Yeah. So what we offer to the companies is how they can reduce the usage of fossil fuel-based electricity into a green energy using the rooftop solar. I hope that answers Bu Linda.
Thank you, Pak George. That's that's very good. Okay, I think we are 5 o'clock. We've been thank you for the speaker. We've been very good at keeping the time with the presentation, and we also got time to answer all this question from the audience. We still have a few questions, and if it's not yet answered here, please reach out. I think we recorded here, and where we can, we'll get back to you individually on those questions. And yeah, I would like to say thanks for all speakers and all the audience today. If you're not part of Bridgetown member yet, please reach out. And if you're a Bridgetown member but you're not the Smart Sustainable City Focus Group member yet, please reach out to us. We're very welcome and support businesses that support the innovation in green technology and green innovation for cities and buildings towards better cities and better well-being for all of us. That's it from me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.